Okay. Hi, Diana. It's me. Let me just zoom this in. Yeah, so I was interested in using Family Search because, well, I just sort of found it from searching for information. Sometimes you'll be like, well, I haven't looked at that guy very much yet, and I want to, like, get you some information. But, um, so the William the Immigrant common ancestor is that Dane Fergut. Um, Let me show you here, though. Just me building off your tree. So this website is like okay, but it definitely is confusing because you have to go to yourself, and I've added you to my tree, but I can't add you as a friend. Wait a minute. Let's see what's happened. All right. You're requesting to join. Yeah. All right. So that's fine. Yeah. You got it. All right. Cool. So this is just me kind of building a tree. I'll just show you what I see because I don't know that I really trust this website as far as it's got some. It's like a complicated thing, so I understand um, making these things, but there's some things about it that are just, for whatever reason, just a little bit odd. So right now, like I'm trying to find how to see my tree. I can go up to here to this family tree menu, but then it's like I don't know. Anyway, so recent people. Okay, you all. All right. So these are all the people that I've merged or edited, and I wanted to show you Barnett Farmer. I'm just interested in this area because it's yet another historic story that is right at that edge between America and um, England or wherever. It doesn't necessarily have to be England, but it seems like England is the common thread here. So one thing I wanted to mention is this. So Keziah. If you type Keziah Arroyo, into Google, it turns out this is like a common trope that's showing up on Family Search, and it's something that somebody entered, and then like it's debunked. So this is along the Bryant line, and it's an the Bryant line has problems too, but when we get to Keziah, it's already pretty messed up. Keziah, so there's actually a article about her online. So she was this legendary. So that people, how people they want to believe that somebody is related to them who isn't, and they're trying to this here's like a genealogical debunking on wikitree about how like she has this name, but if all three of these things are uncertain, like, so I get it, like I don't think this person's real, and I think it's just a cloudiness or a lie, or a a desire for people to be related to people that they aren't, to explain it all, where there's not a lot of information because it's around the fire of London when you lose a lot of records. So, plus like the bad record keeping of people. But I read this article on IndianReservations.net that basically explains that Keziah Powhatan is not Keziah Araya, and that Keziah is from the other article, Keziah is actually a Hebrew name, and it's probably similar to like Jeremiah, in that sort of era of naming. But if you and sadly, this person has been written about in a couple of places, including, yeah. So it's not real. It's not plausible. If you read this article, it comes to the point where this person is not A, the person that they're claiming them to be, B, related to the people that they're claiming they're related to. So I don't think that part of the tree is valid. But I look at this website as just being like nodes that you can import and merge and work on together as a collective group doing research. So it's only as good as the curation of the people doing the research. But let me just jump to this Barnett farmer real quick, and I'll tell you what I've learned here. One of the key things that I look for is this sources tab. So this was already inputted. I didn't input this, and the way that my research here started, it started all the way up at, um, I logged in and I had no connection to you, or I entered a guy named Paul Thornton. I entered a guy named Ernest, and then I found you later after I had dug. So by putting in Ernest, it triggered Agnes D. Thornton, and then I began to get a lot of these other entries like Nani and Reason and John Elkins all the way back to these earlier people. And it's just sort of interesting because other people have been researching Nani and it wasn't you. But at some point I did bump into Thomas Griffin Thornton, and I saw that you had written. I think I'd looked at this website a while ago, and I saw that you had written a note saying this is not William, and that the DNA from Charles was there. So I knew that I had found you, for one, had found your account. So then I was able to go and look at, possible duplicates, and I merged our trees. And I was able to. It's got a very good merge feature where you can pick who's who and what's what, and you can attach things to, these these profiles, these details, with the possible duplicates, merged by ID. All these things allowed me to bring all this together. And sometimes, I mean, your stuff was very detailed. I'm sure you entered this, or there's somebody's name keeps popping up. You can see who enters it. For that reason, I think it's useful. I'm not saying that it replaces any other website, but just in and of itself, it's not Ancestry, and it allows me to have kind of a place to put things. And also, I was able to find some additional sources. So if I go back to, Nani, and then if I dig back, or it's actually through Agnes. If I go through Agnes and then I go back further to Elizabeth Elkins, and then if I go back to, and what I'm doing there is I'm clicking the person thing so that it's focused on them. I just look at it as people profiles. You can see that I'm the one that's been doing some merging lately, but there's other people who had contributed. So now we're back at Elizabeth Elkins, the first person. And then we're going to go back to Elizabeth Farmer, who's actually Mary Elizabeth Farmer. Another thing I like and don't like about this website is the way names are handled. So I don't like that there are no middle names, but I do like that you can add alternate names. So I was able to add a lot of, like, apparently her name was actually, or her grandmother's name was Eliza. Like that was another nickname for Mary Elizabeth Farmer. So I've been able to add all of these alternatives in there. And you're also adding ones that you find in records so that when people search for something that they see in a record, it'll show up. So Elizabeth with a dot, is just in here. But anyway, the fact that it has sources and that you can see it, that really, to me, builds the credibility. I'm sure you agree. I'm not sure what the collaborate's all about. Yeah, this is just people adding notes. So somebody in 2006 was doing research on her. And then if you go to sources, you can see, I don't know what the detailed view. Yeah. So it just opens them all up. But basically you can kind of scan through here and see who's been working on it. And then, what year it's from. Some of this information is wrong, obviously. Like it'll scan wrong. For instance, in Peter Reuben Thornton, there's like a Peter Thomas record, and I was able to dismiss that record because it, even though it had suggested it or someone had suggested it, it's not Peter Thomas, and it's clearly written as Peter Thomas, so it's not Peter Thornton with a misspelling. So I was able to remove that. You just kind of improve these records, um, and maybe benefit off of the work of others. So along those lines, let me just show you what I found about Barnett. And it does give you these kind of interesting flags, like, wait a minute, there's a birth year here that isn't possible or may not have been possible. Oh, wait a minute, and you can turn these on and off, but it gives you these additional pieces of information that computed. It's computed, so it can catch things that you're not noticing when you're putting the things together. But anyway, down here we have, of course, Polly and John Farmer were her parents. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So this particular record is emerging, and 10 kids. I don't know if I believe the 10 kids. I think that because if you look in all of these records, a lot of these people have 10 kids. And you think to yourself, like, wow, that's a lot of kids. And I know that they used to have more kids, and there's historical reasons for these things. But sometimes it's just bad record keeping that leads us to this. But before I get into her record, which I think in this case, so there's what happened here is I did a merge. There's a little bit of a confusion because her name is the same as her grandmother's, but I was able to decouple a lot of the information, and they've got it. What's happened here is that there's like some sort of generational skippage. But if you look at the dates, Barnett Farmer was like 23 when she was born. So it's possible that Barnett Farmer is Elizabeth Farmer's father, and that makes some sense. And you were talking about the whole cousins, double cousins, and stuff like that. It's possible, but if you look at, and I'm not sure what the John Farmer Polly thing is like. This may be information that I just simply have not gotten a chance to delete. But I'm trying. There's not a lot of detail on these records. Like, it doesn't have a year born and died. It just has deceased. So these are probably records that need to be merged. But I had merged so many at the time that I just didn't maybe get to them, or I wasn't sure what to do about them yet, and just ran out of energy. Eventually, I'll clean this up. It says preferred, but that's irrelevant. It's just telling you in the tree where it's going to build the tree. So if we go ahead and look at our tree really quickly, we can maybe try to clean up like what's going on. So, yeah. So there's this Elizabeth Farmer, who's Reason's grandmother. And, of course, Reason married... Well, I don't know if it's... Yeah, so it's actually Elizabeth Elkins' grandmother. Or mother, sorry. And Reason is how the Thorntons are related. But if you go back, there's maybe not a lot of good information along one of these directions, and you see that there's some duplication here. So when you go to the tree, you're seeing the preferred. But if I go back to Elizabeth Farmer and I switch the preferred, there's obviously something going on where John Farmer is the father of Elizabeth Farmer and all that, but we think it's actually the other way around. We think it's Barnett, maybe that. I haven't figured it out yet, but let's just say it's Barnett. So now you've got Barnett having 11 children, which is an extreme number of children, and many of them are being born in his 20s and 30s, but Elizabeth is born when he's like 43. Okay, so that's still possible. but her mother, if it was Elizabeth Elkins, is 41. It's still possible, and she's the last child. So you sort of start doing this, but then if you go to Barnett Farmer, right? Um, Here he's got Jeremiah Farmer, and that leads back towards the Farmer book that I was citing, which is in Family Search, and I sent you the information to look at. But basically, in the sources section, so you have collaboration where you have me writing a note about something that Ronald Jordan, who had been doing the research before me, this is me actually typing in his will, which is only in the memories section and is provided by Ronald Jordan. So if I go in here, and I believe that this came from, and I wrote that out. You don't think this is the Barnett? Our Barnett was born and died of Montgomery, not Grayson. Well, again, it's trying to build off of something that was already attached to this data body. This will was not, it doesn't say, it says where it's from, but I wasn't able to find where it's from. I just found this image. I'm not sure where it says Grayson County, but let me zoom in a little bit. I guess this button. So I'm at a loss as to where it says here Grayson County. Let me see. Grayson Clerk's Office. Okay, let me look at that real quick. Just going to see how far away it is, because you can have a will recorded, but usually you do it in the county you're in. Let me just check something. Grayson County Farmer. Well, if it's not the same farmer, then he's not related to Jeremiah Farmer. I mean, meaning the one ours, quote unquote, is Grayson County, Virginia to Montgomery. The thing is that I don't think Montgomery, Virginia, it's one of these is not, doesn't matter. Montgomery. All right, so it's 90 miles different, but it's still in southwestern. So Christiansburg is in Montgomery County. I agree with you there. The thing is that didn't these people die in Snowville, which is kind of near Grayson County? Also, you have to remember that some of these county lines change. But I didn't really note that. It's like it was a disconnected. It does say Grayson Clerk's Office, but then that entry ends. It says the inventory and appraisement of the estate of Byram Ballard was returned into the office and ordered to be recorded. M. Dickerson. But then it stops. That's the end of that entry. And then it says I, Barnett Farmer, having nothing to do with the previous entry. Am I saying that? So I just don't have, there's not enough information, right? It doesn't say here. Wait, it does say Grayson. Yeah, I may not have noticed that earlier. Yeah, you usually would do that in your county. It doesn't mean it always happens that way. Yeah. Also, it was spelled differently, which I noted right away. And I felt like it may not be the same person, but then the guy talked about him differently. So it may just be that Ronald Jordan's data is no good for this stuff. But if I go into sources, some of the other sources may be connected to, right, so this one is connected to Barnett Farmer and Elizabeth Elkins, and it says Montgomery. So Yeah, maybe the will, which is in the memories, isn't good enough, but the sources for this entry are still, you know, are still, it's still the data body. Marriage in. This is the. It's confusing because it's late at night and I write these emails to you, but David was. I mean, there's no data here. It just says Mary Elkins, and then down here it says like no information about. It doesn't say where. So, except in the Mary, it's from that data set. So it's what it is, you know. I mean, in this case, it looks like somebody else came in and put that memorial on the wrong place. But here we have Barnett Farmer, Christianberg. You know, this is all related to that. So I will note that this is Virginia Will, Barnett Farmer. So I'll let this guy know in some way. Can I copy this? No. So it's this guy. Let me see if I can tell him. Chat. Mr. Carpenter. Fine. I don't know. Just trying to write this guy. Hey, I think you put Barnett Farmer's will on the wrong person. That entry was for Barnett Farmer of Montgomery County. Right. Anyway, we'll see. He wasn't. I mean, the last time he was in there was like Independence Day of this year. Yeah, so it's, I don't know. Good. So again, it's just up to the people. Like that's what I like about it. I mean, I benefited though off of the. Yeah, I have to look into that Thomas Farmer. See, the thing is, people moved west, but they didn't really move that quickly, you know. But yet, you only had like 100 years in 1700 to be anywhere. If you, it's not like yeah, maybe you landed in Newark, but the same person would have to move in their lifetime. Like they can't end up dying on their own farm and yeah, Ronald Jordan, Montgomery, Virginia. So this guy is connecting Montgomery, Virginia, Barnett Farmer, but he says he only had one child, and that person is Jemima, based on my other research. And that doesn't make any sense because we're claiming that he's somehow connected to you know, connected to our Elkinses. So there's some cloudiness, and you just sort of work out the cloudiness. Let me see if I can just quickly bring along the Jeremiah, Jemima, whatever. So view all, and then so this is the only one that I've been able to spend any time with. There may be, and I spent the time. So according to this, the person is born when Barnett Farmer is 36. I just question the maybe because he lived another 77 years after that, and she was so she's a little younger, but it's just very we've got marriage in Montgomery County on the in 1825, so she was 26. Um, and there's a bunch of sources for her. But we have an anecdotal source saying that that was their only child. Um, and then her last name became Warden. Of course, it's mistyped as Warner. But, and then it starts to connect her back to Jeremiah Farmer. Well, this is Jemima Farmer. Interesting. It's like an alternative spelling. Yeah, so that's the marriage record. Anyway, you see how this works. I mean, they spell it a couple different ways. But the fact that you get the actual data and you can double check it really helps. And I kind of tend to believe that it just takes so long to work on a single person that you don't always like. Who's Octavia Ward? Are these their kids? She's 75. Must be their kids. Where's her? She was a housekeeper. She was white. And then parent name Barnett Farmer. So if you go in here, I've seen this document before. Now we're in Pulaski County, and this is when she's dying, and you wonder about the connection there to the other Pulaskis and the Snowville stuff. So this seems like relative, maybe a sister. Maybe there were more than just the one kid, or maybe that marriage only produced one and there were others. Yeah, right here. Jemima Warden, old age, she died, 86. Barnett and Elizabeth Farmer. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm going to cut it short. I'm sure I did like a half an hour video here, but this is the kind of like late night insomniac stuff I do when I'm procrastinating on other things, and we talk, and there's some exchange or whatever. But I get that there's gaps in data, and I often am ready to declare things just so I can get away, because I need to feel like I have accomplished something. So it looks like a sister, but we don't know. But there's some sources here for Elizabeth Farmer, and some of it lines up. Let's just quickly look here. Bill Farmer. Oh, Elizabeth Elkins marrying Bill Farmer. Yeah, so I do believe that these Elkins and Elizabeths need further cleaning, but let's see. She was father's name Jas Farmer. Is that William Farmer's? And then mother's name Elizabeth Farmer. So this could be for one of her kids. Elizabeth Farmer married to John Elkins, senior probably, because there's a junior. I don't remember exactly. Maybe this is the junior. Elkins and Farmer, I do hereby certify that this one, they blah blah blah, 1824. John Elkins, Elizabeth Farmer together as man and wife after a legal publication of whatever that word is. Official. Oh my God. I.J.C. Symbol, the gospel. Minister of the gospel. What a guy. Flammo. It looks like Flano. A legal publication of Flano. I'm glad we don't do this shit anymore. I do hereby certify that on the 8th of April. See, I can read all that. Anyway, it's interesting. And it has some provenance to Montgomery, I assume. because of the microfiche or microfilm that it's involved with. I just I have no idea. Off Bono. Off Alflano. Anyway, all right. Well, have a good one. It's been fun playing Sleuth to the Ages.